The NHL has been offering both a kind of league-wide solution to impacted teams. Roughly half of the teams in each of these leagues is impacted by the RSN crisis. You've got a league backup solution. You've also encouraged the teams to take a look at their own if they want a branded solution of their own. I should indicate, since this is a conference run by journalists, that I have a bias here. We have the NHL as a client and a number of NHL and NBA teams. So we're involved in this as ViewLift to help provide the streaming part of the solutions. But how has that offering to the teams and the optionality afforded by the league's approach? It's not the same let's drive to nationalization that baseball has. It's not a complete platform developed the way that the NBA had. Talk about how hockey is thinking about this.
It's pretty simple. I think it could become either one of those things, but for us, I think the most important thing was to maintain flexibility and optionality. I don't think we really have a clear vision for where it's going and how it's all going to play out. I mean, some of the struggling entities now could reemerge. They could become a attractive distressed asset for another entity, right? Like, we don't really know how it's all going to play out. So that's really why we're investing with third parties to try and minimize technical debt and be able to serve our fans the best way we can, while we take a short period of time to see how it all plays out. And there's a lot of interesting things. We talked about a couple more already. They're going to happen in the marketplace that might dictate to some degree where this all goes. So for us, it's optionality. It's obviously serving the fans. So make sure that we have all the content distributed the way we want to. I think Chris touched on a really interesting thing that's happening here. Maybe it's underneath it all, but somewhere in the middle of it all. And it's really thinking about globalization, like what does that really mean now? And the traditional sports business has been built on licensing in accordance with territories and markets and certain mileage radius. Like, does that need to all go away? And even in the most simple terms, the world is telling us that. We built a game in Roblox. It's been hugely successful, but there are no guidelines and territories for what teams can do, what media partners can do, what our data partners can do, because there are no territories in Roblox. Like, how do we all emerge in this one environment together in the best possible way? It's not directly analogous, but it sort of is. I mean, we're trying to make sure we're keeping all of our options available, but we're investing in the technology necessary for delivering on the fan needs.
Yeah, and look, I would say that what's happening in the regional sports network world is no different than what we talked about at the beginning. You're navigating this transition that a number of people want to consume their content on digital platforms. And so we're seeing all of the RSNs develop a streaming strategy. MSG has announced their product, and they're going to be in market with it this year. Our team, the Wizards and the Capitals, Monumental Sports, they acquired their regional sports network, and they're going to be going with their own direct-to-consumer business. The NBC RSNs have expressed interest in putting their games on Peacock. So everyone's developing their strategy, and Diamond is no different. Diamond years ago said, our future, we need a digital business, et cetera. The problem is this transition, as hard as it is, it's even harder when you have $8 billion worth of debt. And the streaming business is one that requires investment. You see with the traditional media companies, the investment they made, Disney made in Disney Plus, and NBC is making in Peacock. It's a significant investment, and that's hard to do when you have the debt, and that's what's kind of causing this issue. But as we think about the future, again, we think that hybrid model is what works. And we've seen a couple of our affected teams that are doing that. So the Suns announced a deal that is a hybrid of over-the-air and a direct-to-consumer offering. The Jazz have announced a deal that is a combination of over-the-air and direct-to-consumer offering. And just like Chris and Dave have done at their leagues, we have invested a lot of money building out our direct-to-consumer capabilities so that we can help our teams take those things to market, because we think that's the future. The last thing I would just say is, and some things that I think people sometimes falsely equate, is the RSN model is under pressure, but the value of local sports rights has never been higher. And so it's the case that we have to find a different model, these hybrid approaches. As Chris said, you might have a couple of partners, you might have an OTA partner and a direct-to-consumer partner, but the local right value is still extremely robust.